2025, a little after 2 p.m. If you'd like to do a roll call.
Yes. All right. Chair Brett Freese.
Here.
Vice Chair Thomas Bradford.
Here.
Russ Redmond. Wade Chance.
Here.
Jill Winta.
Here.
Michelle Schraus.
Here.
Drew Enriquez.
Nailed it. Yeah. Here.
Okay. Any modifications to the agenda as written?
I'd like to let you know that under any other matters, I had 2 items I want to bring up. One pertains to section 78-395 of the code, requested code, and the other is the recently proposed right-of-way standards for the village of DeQuest.
Okay. Could you make a motion to include that in the agenda, please?
I make a motion to approve the agenda as submitted with the addition of the items just mentioned for under any other matters.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Motion carries. Communications from citizens. If you could just introduce yourself.
My name is Marie Sapiri. I live in the Country Club. And first, I wanted to thank you all for your work on the EAC. I'm an alternate on another village board, and I know you put in a great deal of time here and work, and I appreciate what you do. I wanted to let you know that at the council workshop last week, the Public Works Director presented a plan to fundamentally alter, in the most ecologically devastating of ways, the village's current approach to swales and right-of-ways. This plan was mentioned to you previously by the Utilities Director at your May meeting. I do not believe that you have been consulted on it since, even though it is already in code text form. So I wanted to walk you through a small number of the major problems this proposal poses to the village's ability to infiltrate stormwater, mitigate flooding, and preserve the health of our critical natural resources like the river and street trees, as well as the detrimental effects it will have on the utilities and infrastructure projects it claims it will protect. Since at least 2019, the village's policy and code on swales and right-of-ways has been excellent. It encourages the use of low-impact design principles such as bioswales and other creative stormwater management techniques in the swales. It also expressly allows trees and shrubs in the right-of-ways and swales. Our comprehensive plan promotes the village street trees as essential infrastructure, and the landscaping code requires Florida-friendly landscaping in most areas. These laws are all based on the best current professional practices and have yielded excellent results here. The new proposal would reverse all of that in favor of a mostly barren, sod-only swales. And if enforced as written, the result would be total homogenization of the village to all sod street frontage in front of homes and businesses. The proposal includes an extremely restrictive approved plant list of wildflowers and small grasses that homeowners will never include in their landscape plans, because the installation and maintenance requirements are extremely onerous, and the potential penalties for a misstep in this proposal are so harsh. I won't enumerate all of the proposed penalties, but the directors presented a punitive scheme that includes permitting the village staff to rip out beneficial existing plants and trees with no notice. Fines are mentioned on nearly every page of the proposed ordinance text, and that is highly indicative of the purpose here. It is not meant to help residents better understand how to protect the stormwater system or underground utilities, but to punish them for not choosing a sod-only right-of-way. This proposal is regrettably, and in contrast to an overwhelming amount of professional and academic research, exactly as it was described to you in May. At that meeting, the director said that, quote, from a purely engineering design standpoint, the swales are swales, I don't want anything in the swales, end quote. This proposal would preclude residents from attempting to prevent stormwater damage to their own properties and their neighbors by following the best bioswale practices widely espoused by professionals for stormwater mitigation. It is, in short, a huge step backwards and a complete reversal of many of the policies and programs that your committee has spent years helping to implement and that most residents desire. Even as regards underground pipes, the premise of the proposal is deeply flawed. Sacrificing trees, shrubs, and bioswales everywhere to protect new pipes that, if properly installed, are simply not at risk of root intrusion is a poor strategy. We should not denude the village of privately planted trees and shrubs that not only pose little threat to pipes, but provide huge benefits in managing stormwater. I don't want to exceed my time by a lot, but I would be happy to explain how exactly the law works and why it isn't necessary and is actually detrimental to its stated purpose of protecting the stormwater system or underground pipes if you'd like to contact me later. But I highly encourage you all to read the proposal and ask you as a body and individually to please write to council and ask them to reject this disastrous plan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
1 minute? That's okay. Do you have time today to remain here?
How much longer do you have an estimate of how?
About an hour?
An hour? I actually have to run. I have something that I need to do, but I could leave my email if you need or phone number if you.
Yeah, if you could do that,
later. Sure.
that'd be great.
All right, thank
I
you.
appreciate
Sorry
it.
about that.
20 minutes right now.
Do you have questions?
Not
You do?
Not right now. I can.
No, well,
Well,
the only reason is because we motioned to have this discussion at the end of the agenda.
Yeah.
But if we have questions and we have an expert here, we can take those questions now while I don't want to take
Do
too
you
much.
guys all have questions too? I mean, otherwise.
Okay.
I-
All right.
Sure.
Pardon? Oh, Marie Superi.
Marissa? Or is it Marie? Thank you. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay, in the interest of time then.
Yeah, sorry. I
The
don't
committee
mean to-
does have some questions for you.
Okay, sure.
So this would probably be a good opportunity.
I just agree with you.
Okay.
I just wanted to say that to you.
Great.
My background is landscape, so school, and I agree that it just shouldn't be all sod. So I will definitely be thinking more thoroughly on this, getting in touch,
Okay, great.
and voicing my
Appreciate that.
opinion on it. Thank you.
I don't have any real questions except to express some concerns when we get to the item on approval of agenda.
Okay.
Great.
Similar to what some of what Marie has said.
Yeah, okay. Yep, Michelle.
Same as what's already been
Okay.
said.
Good. Can you briefly summarize why this proposal came up?
So my understanding, the way it was presented at the meeting was as a unification of the code that currently exists. And there is currently code on the rights of, or the swales in particular. There's a swale policy that was passed in 2019 that I just learned about this last week. But it is actually a little bit tricky to find. My husband and I found it and put it on our website, which is equestanotes.org. But you have to go search the archives is the long line because it's not actually in ordinance text. So I guess to answer your question a little bit more, I do think it would be a good idea to codify the swale policy, and there was a driveway policy, a swale policy, and a permitting process, and to make that more widely known, because I think that would address, if that was in the code and easier to find and residents knew about it, I think that would address a lot of the problems a lot of the potential problems for the utilities and public works directors.
It sounds like we have a pretty good idea of the disadvantages of this proposal. I'm just curious what the benefits are.
I think part of it is that there's a desire to have greater access to the underground pipes. As I understand the rules right now, that the Public Works can access those pipes, and if you have plants in the right of way, they have to go. And if there's an emergency or it needs replacement, which is a totally reasonable rule, and that's okay. But this proposal would preclude that, and by its strict terms. And I don't think that's necessary, which is why I would like to see us go back to what we had, or to leave what we have, to allow landscaping in the right of ways and swales, especially bioswale principles to be implemented, because I think that can really help with both aesthetically and in terms of filtering the water before it gets to the storm drain system.
Got it. Thank you very much.
Drew?
That was actually, I was just looking up the code as it was written, but I don't have any additional questions right now.
Okay. I appreciate your time, and do leave your information. Thank you.
Oh, I was just gonna ask her for her information, great. Thanks, Brad.
Okay.
Email it to me, or I believe I have it, but if not, Marie, can you just email it to me and I'll send it forward?
I will, yeah.
Thank
Thank you.
Any other citizens that would like to speak? Okay. So we'll start with our first presentation from SWA, Catie Sprague.
Sprague.
Sprague,
Yep,
sorry.
no problem.
And Andre, I didn't get your last name.
Cardona.
And they're going to speak to us about education or speak to us about the integrated solid waste management system at SWA. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having us here today. My name is Catie Sprague, and I am the Education and Outreach Supervisor at the Solid Waste Authority. Has anybody visited us for a tour before? No? Okay, well, I would like to invite you to come visit us at some point. If nothing else, we have an open house event on November 2nd. You can come see the facilities. But to start things off, we have the cleanest and greenest renewable energy facility in North America. And Palm Beach County has been #1 in the state of Florida for recycling for the last 3 years. So thank you all for your efforts for that. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about what we do and what you would see if you come visit us. We like to say welcome to away when you come see us, because whether you throw it, recycle it, or even flush it away, we put your waste to work. The Solid Waste Authority was established in 1975 by a special act of the Florida State Legislature, and we are a dependent special district of the county. We are a government agency responsible for the county-wide disposal as well as collection in unincorporated Palm Beach County. We manage an integrated system of solid waste management, including 2 renewable energy facilities, a recovered materials processing facility, the recycling, 1 biosolids processing facility, a landfill, 6 transfer stations, and 7 home chemical and recycling centers. We're all familiar with Palm Beach County. We are one of the largest counties in the state of Florida in terms of land area and 4th largest in terms of population. About 1.5 million people throughout the county. And the way we more efficiently manage our waste is through a system of 6 transfer stations. Have you visited your local transfer station?
Yeah.
Off of Military and Donald Ross. So those trucks that come around to pick up at your curb stop there, and then we fill up our SWA tractor trailers from there, because they can hold about 7 times as much as your local garbage truck. That way we're reducing the number of trucks on the road, reducing pollution, time, drivers, all of that. This is our main campus off of North Jog Road. We are located between 45th Street and Beeline, and have about 1,300 acres there. I know the text is a little small to see here, but on this site are most of what I mentioned besides those 6 transfer stations. These are all of the ways that we manage the solid waste, starting with our recovered materials processing facility at the top. We have a dual stream recycling system here in Palm Beach County, meaning we have things that go in the blue bin and the yellow bin, and we keep those items separate. Many places, especially in the US, have a single stream system where everything is put together. Having 2 bins to separate at home reduces the contamination overall. So that has helped us get to the highest rate in the state for the 3 years in a row. Of course, this is one of our most important things that we are doing, to pull out the material before it gets into our mainstream. So we ask residents to do it at home. The home chemical and recycling center drop-offs are where Palm Beach County residents can drop off home hazardous waste for free, and that is at each of the 6 transfer stations. We also have a main location off of North Jog Road.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Where is the closest station to here?
It's Donald Ross and Military. It's off of SWA Road.
Awesome.
Yeah. I've heard that the Jupiter transfer station is our busiest one too. Lots of people dropping off home hazardous waste.
actually just for myself, but.
I do have brochures for you too that shows you the map and what all can be dropped off there. But everything from cooking oil to lithium batteries to old American flags, we even have those at those facilities. Not that it's a hazardous waste, but we do give them a proper disposal. Renewable energy facilities 1 and 2 are where we burn the garbage to make electricity. We've been doing that here in Palm Beach County since 1989, and our newest facility was built in 2015. That is what I refer to as the cleanest and greenest renewable energy facility in North America. We're also the most recent one built in about the last 25 years. We make enough electricity to power all of our facilities off of North Jog, and we sell the extra to Florida Power and Light, and can power around 90,000 homes each year. The biosolids pelletizer is where we take that flush and turn it into fertilizer. So when you flush the toilet, it goes down the drain to a wastewater treatment facility. They take the liquids and send us the solids. We heat that up using methane from the landfill to dry it out, to kill off any pathogens, and then pelletize it, and it's turned into an eco-friendly fertilizer amendment. The landfill is our last resort for waste. So by default in Palm Beach County, anything you throw in the garbage goes to one of our renewable energy facilities. It is not directly landfilled. We are trying to maximize the time that we have with this landfill because there's really no ideal spot in Palm Beach County to build a new one. Right now we are looking at 2057 for a closure date. That changes with population, with possible hurricanes. We are also investigating ways to additionally maximize that time. Once the landfill is full, it will be turned into something for public use. If you've ever visited Dyer Park or Park Ridge Golf Course in Lantana, both of those are old landfills. I did talk a little bit about our recycling program already, but we started recycling in Palm Beach County in 1987 and have had a continuous recycling program since then. All 39 county municipalities do participate. As you can see, in 2022, we had an 80% recycling rate, 84% in 2023, and 90% in 2024. As with most of our facilities, the recovered materials processing facility is owned by the Solid Waste Authority, but operated under contract by Circular Services. So they're the ones who have the employees actually working on the floor. The recovered materials are then marketed by the SWA. We get better quality, a better value for the commodities, and we have long-term sales contracts for mixed paper and old corrugated containers, monthly bids for aluminum and plastics. I have this information on a magnet up here if you'd like to take one home. It settles a lot of arguments in the household. You probably are familiar with the bins up here, but the blue bin gets plastic bottles and containers. We keep those lids on. Food and beverage cans made of aluminum and steel. Glass bottles and jars with the lids removed. Milk and juice cartons. Drink boxes, and no pouches, no straws, anything like that. The yellow bin gets paper and cardboard, newspaper, dry food boxes. Pizza boxes are a major question. If the top is clean, you can rip that top off and put it into your yellow bin and then throw the bottom in the garbage. In the middle is probably the most important part, the please do nots, including plastic bags. Those are a major problem for us as they get tangled in our machinery. We also do not take styrofoam, aluminum foil or pans, shredded paper, plastic utensils or straws, no paper plates, paper towels, napkins, tissues, anything like that. No coat hangers, whether they're made of metal or plastic, and no light bulbs. Of course, we don't take needles or lithium batteries in the recycling bin either.
Did you say milk cartons go in the blue?
Yes, yes, that is a common question as well, yes. So a lot of people think, oh, it's cardboard, it goes in the yellow bin. It actually is a waxed plastic material with a lining of foil, and it has had that food or beverage inside of it. So we put that in our blue bin to keep it separate from our paper.
Well, then I'm sorry.
That's okay, that's why we do this, right? There we go. Okay, so this is curbside collection. We do see that the trucks have a split body. You're probably well familiar with that. The local trucks in West Palm come directly to our facility. Otherwise, we have our tractor trailers that come into either the yellow bin side or the blue bin side from our transfer stations and unload on the tipping floor. And then we're going to start the separation process. So we are not actually making new products here. We are instead further separating what our residents give us and selling that material to be turned into new products. So over here, the first thing that will happen is there's a contamination sort. There are workers who pull out big items that should not have gone into the bins. This is all done by hand at this point. And then there's a star screen that separates cardboard, which stays on top, while the paper falls down below. And you can see that plastic bag getting tangled there. That does happen frequently. The machinery has to be shut down and cut out by hand. More contamination separation here. And then the trommel spins out broken glass, dirt, sand before the paper goes onto a conveyor belt and is eventually loaded into our baling machine. The paper stays inside so that it doesn't get wet, and then the companies come pick it up to be turned into new paper products.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Now, do those machines have the ability of not only just separating what you just showed us there, but also glass, metal, plastics?
That's the other side, which is right now. So yes, we do have separation on the blue bin side as well. You'll see the tipping floor, completely separate sides of the building. From the time you put it out, it's separated. You can see our SWA tractor trailers have a walking floor to unload here. And then we're going to use some high-tech materials and some low-tech machines to separate. The first thing that happens here is that conveyor belt gets loaded again, and it's going to pass under a magnet. The magnet's pulling out the steel cans for separation. That's the belt magnet there. And then those get dropped into a separate bunker outside. The trucks are loaded up from there. And then contamination sort on this side before a glass breaker. So everything bounces on top of there except the glass, which shatters, falls down below. Then we have aluminum cans to separate. We use an eddy current system to repel the aluminum cans just a little bit further off the line. The plastics drop straight down. And then the plastic has to be separated based on density. So if you think about your water bottle is different than your laundry detergent bottle. So we use optical sorters to separate with puffs of air based on the density. And they'll go onto 4 different conveyor belt lines, and the computers are reading that. So you see laundry detergent bottles, milk jugs, soda and water bottles, and then there's a line for everything else. They're stored in a bunker until there's enough. And our newest addition is our AI robot arm we've nicknamed Roxy. So there is AI that reads what's on the belt, and it is pulling out number 5 plastics as well as cartons. There's a market if we can separate those from everything else. So they go into the baler, get wrapped up with that steel twine, and then we can leave the plastics outside until they're picked up. Aluminum stays inside.
Is this sold to private companies domestically, internationally?
We work with a lot of brokers who purchase it and then sell it to additional clients. It just depends. We do get requests from all over the world for specifically Palm Beach County materials because they are known for being clean. And I know, isn't that wild? A normal single stream system has anywhere from 30 to 40% contamination, and our dual stream system is around 10 to 12%. So if a recycler purchases from us, they are more likely to be getting the material they purchased, and so they're going to come back and buy again.
Is 100% of that get sold to brokers, or is it a certain percent?
No, I can't say specifically what percent, and the plastics and aluminums are a monthly bid process, so that might change within the month who it gets sold to. A lot of our paper goes to North Florida and South Georgia to the paper mills. Our glass goes to a company on the west coast of Florida that turns it into recycled glass products.
And so if it doesn't get sold, then it goes to the landfill?
No,
No.
we sell all the recycling that is correct that comes to us, yes. None of it's landfilled unless it's not what we ask for. You know, if you're putting plastic bags in your bins, that's going to go to the renewable energy facilities.
Yeah, Catie, you mentioned one of the advantages of having dual stream, less contamination. What are the advantages of having single stream? Do we benchmark ourselves against?
It's easier for the residents to throw everything into one bin.
Does that mean
And
participation rates go up typically?
I think it's hard to judge participation rates versus what's actually good, because I know a lot of single stream places, the bin is exactly the same size as the garbage can and has a lid on it and everything, and that tends to be a second garbage can that haulers don't realize they've dumped it in with clean recycling possibly, and now it's contaminated with more garbage. So they might participate, but that's not to say they put the correct things in that single stream bin.
Is there any measurement in your industry about net collection per household available in a single stream versus a dual stream?
I'm sure there is. I don't have that off the top of my head, but I'm sure they can compare based on populations and all of that. But all the other counties around us have single stream. I think there's maybe one other county in Florida that is dual stream, and it's a much smaller county.
So you would say we're in the minority of the counties?
Yes,
In
in
the
the state
state.
of Florida. But if you think about places outside of the US, Europe, a lot of places make you recycle into more than 2 bins, you know, and you get charged for how much garbage you throw away versus recycling being free or included in services.
Just a quick question. I was told by a Publix employee that they now take all their bags back and other bags. They accept all that blue stuff that you don't want, and they have their own manufacturing place. Have you heard anything about this?
Yes,
Is that true, or is it a lie?
I can't speak to what Publix actually does with them, but I have the same information, that they collect those bags and the styrofoam outside of the stores, as well as places like Target, Kohl's, that sort of thing, and then they take care of it on their own. They don't come to us
Yeah.
with that.
I had 2 questions. One, do you also sell the fertilizer that you create? And then the other was do you do any compost?
So I have a slide about composting at the end, but the company that contract operates the biosolids facility is called Synagro, and they are responsible for marketing and the selling of that product. So it's part of the contract that they take care of that.
So it goes to private, effectively.
Yeah. So it's within the contract, and I'm not familiar with all the details of their contract, but yes, they market it and sell it.
Okay.
Why don't we let her finish her
Yeah, I was
presentation?
I'll talk about everything, and then if we want to ask specific questions later. I know this was a major thing, so I want to make sure we talk about the home chemical and recycling centers. We do have those drop-offs at each of the transfer stations, and the bins are very clearly labeled with what should go in each. Used oil is a big thing that, especially at the unmanned transfer stations. So if you're bringing oil or gasoline in, you're going to have to leave your container behind. If you come to one of the stations where there is staff during staffed hours, our main facility off of North Jog, and then the one in West Delray, there are large containers where you can pour it out and take your container back. So we do take old paint, propane tanks, fluorescent tube light bulbs, CFLs, old electronics, pesticides, cleaners, all sorts of chemicals like that. We do not take anything radioactive at these facilities. Once they are dropped off, we pick them up, process them in terms of sorting and separation. Some of it gets sent out to be disposed of responsibly. Some of it gets sent out to be recycled as it can. So the electronics, they can pull out the metals and recycle those, bits and pieces. It just depends what it is. But that is a service that's provided to Palm Beach County residents for free. You can drop off during the specific hours at the transfer stations. Super easy. One of our main focuses with that has been lithium batteries. Rechargeable batteries, a lot of people don't realize that many everyday objects contain a rechargeable battery, and those can cause fires that are very difficult to put out. If it's damaged and water gets introduced, it can cause a thermal runaway that you have to dump many gallons of water on to put out. And we don't want that happening in the back of a garbage truck. We don't want it happening at our recycling facility. We don't want it happening at our renewable energy facilities. So we're asking residents to bring those to us so we can dispose of them. One of the biggest things I think that I've learned is the greeting cards that sing have lithium batteries in them. So somebody might think they could recycle that, and then we, could be in trouble with that. Renewable Energy Facility 2 burns post-recycled solid waste to create energy. This is an aerial shot of it. Our tractor trailers again come in from the transfer stations and drop off directly into the pit. This is, if you've seen Toy Story 3, very similar. And they unload directly into the pit to start the process of drying out the garbage and mixing it up. This is a mass burn facility, so everything goes into the fire hole. There's no recycling that's done on the front end. We only pull out metals on the back end. There are claws that mix up that garbage, let it dry out for a little while, and then eventually drop it into one of 3 combustion chambers. This facility can process 3,000 tons of garbage a day. And it is 24/7, 365. There's always somebody there burning garbage. See the claws here. And this facility is managed by a company called ReWorld. And here that fire is burning over 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit, hopefully completely combusting that garbage. Around the combustion chambers are tubes filled with water. The water boils and turns into steam. We then superheat the steam to dry it out before sending it to a turbine and generator to make electricity. We also collect the rainwater from the roofs of these buildings to be used in the process. That's often one of the negatives of waste energy, is how water intensive it is. But with that process, collecting the rain, as well as we recycle the steam, we recover and condense it, we did not have to increase the groundwater permit that was already in place when we built this facility. So that's the electricity switch yard where it's sent out. And that's our air-cooled condenser where we cool the steam back down using 15 fans and then reuse it in the process. Once we have burned that garbage, there is gases that we need to clean. So we have over half of the building dedicated to air pollution control systems, including activated carbon to adhere to mercury. We have spray dryer absorbers to neutralize acid gases with a lime slurry. We have bag houses that collect the fly ash so that doesn't get out into the environment. And we also have what is the state-of-the-art technology, the selective catalytic reduction system that neutralizes the nitrous oxides. So we are set specific permit levels by the EPA and the DEP, and we regularly go below those limits. Those permits are already on par with a natural gas facility, and we go below those quite often. So what's left over, you can see on the screen there, is the ash and the melted metals. We pull out those metals for recycling before we load the ash into trucks and take it across the street to a landfill. The whole reason we have these facilities is volume reduction. For every 10 trucks that come in carrying garbage, 1 truck leaves with ash. The biosolids processing facility is in partnership with 6 local wastewater utilities, and we take about 95% of the county's wastewater solids. Like I said, that landfill gas is used as an energy source to process the biosolids, and it's sold to fertilizer blenders and distributed nationally. So that picture you see up there is the final poo product, and that is the pellet. If you're familiar with malorganite, it's a similar type of product. Composting. We do not have commercial composting at our facilities. We also, while we encourage backyard composting, currently there is no permitting for composting commercially in Palm Beach County. Right now we use that material. We have capacity for that in our renewable energy facilities, and that is why we used to do composting, but at the time it was not financially feasible to continue it, and we couldn't get anybody to take it. So we don't do the composting, we do the biosolids instead, and like I said, with the renewable energy facilities, we're able to process that through there. Now, if you have a school, a golf course community that can compost on site, use it on site, that's perfectly fine. You just can't leave the property within Palm Beach County. Like I said, the landfill's the last resort for solid waste. You've probably seen it a million times driving up and down the turnpike. We do have what looks like 2 hills. They are being built in towards each other. And eventually, hopefully 2057 or later, it will be one big hill. It is not a dump. We double line our cells before anything is put in to make sure nothing's getting out into the groundwater, into the soil. We collect the leachate or garbage juice to pull that out of the cells as well. And once a cell is full, once it's filled with the ash, we'll seal it up with another liner, as you see on the left-hand side, put soil on top of it, plant grass, move on to the next cell. And we have cells built waiting for us to need, in the future, so we're not having to wait for that. Here's a diagram of what a landfill cell looks like. You can see there's a primary and secondary liner, the leachate collection system. If we were putting garbage in, we would alternate protective soil with those garbage layers. We also pull out that methane so it doesn't build up in the cell. As I said, Dyer Park and Park Ridge Golf Course are both old landfills that have been converted into county park areas. Gives us an opportunity in South Florida to play on a hill, which doesn't happen very frequently. And we're big on industry and nature coexisting. We have about 300 acres of protected wildlife area with trails that are open to the public. They also connect to the Grassy Waters trail system. That is where the city of West Palm Beach gets part of its drinking water. And just next door, we have facilities that are burning garbage. We have an entire environmental department that is responsible for making sure we are not polluting. We have 2 people on staff whose sole job it is to test water quality. That's all they do at our different sites. So we have this area because when they were originally siting the landfill, they found the endangered Everglades snail kite roosting in the area. So we moved the landfill to its current location, and now we have this protected wildlife area. We have so many Florida animals out there. I've seen otter, I've seen deer, alligators, lots of birds. Wood storks like to hang out, roseate spoonbills, and we have the environmental team doing bird counts. It's actually one of the most productive rookeries in the county, so the birds are in quite high population in that area. So a lot of big things, a lot of big numbers here, but we like to emphasize that we can all reduce, reuse, recycle, and rethink our waste and do our parts to recycle right every day. So it's not just about recycling, it's about recycling the right things for us. And waste management, recycling is all very local. So what happens here in Palm Beach County is not necessarily what's going to happen in Martin County or Broward County or anywhere outside of Florida. So our waste is managed right here in Palm Beach County. Questions?
Well, the first question I had was about mercury, and you said you've got like carbon filtration that captures it, I suppose. Is that a recently, a newly introduced filtration option?
No, as far as I'm aware, it's a pretty common filtration option, and we've actually had less mercury in the waste stream than we used to because manufacturers aren't putting it in things like they used to, but it's still incorporated to account for what is there.
I was glad to hear that. In regard to the blue bins, the photo that you showed, they showed the yellow bin, the standard blue bin, and then a taller
Yes.
blue bin. How do you get one of those taller blue bins? Is there a requirement that you have to meet in order to get that?
No, all you have to do is either track us down at an event or give us a call or go online and it'll be dropped off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Two other questions. One, you mentioned some of the things that you don't accept in the waste stream. And then you said that robotic eye thing could spot some plastics that you don't use, or others. It's removed from the stream and used in a different way. But what do you do with the things that come to you in the waste stream, but are not things that you can either give to others, sell to others, or do something with? What do you do with that?
So the only separation happens at the recycling facility. So that's only going to come to us through the yellow bin or the blue bin. Anything that you throw away is going to go to one of the renewable energy facilities where it's burned. So there's really no separation that happens there in terms of we're not pulling out plastic bottles or cardboard boxes from that material. So if you throw it away, it's going to be burned.
And then lastly, recently here in Equesta, we for the first time have the automated collection of garbage, the arm and this Jake thing. Can you see that coming down the pike for at least one of the two streams?
I don't know. I haven't heard anything about that because we're automated for garbage in unincorporated Palm Beach County as well. But I don't know about the recycling because of the way the trucks are set up, if that's possible or if they would even do that because of the possibility of contamination. So the haulers, if they see a bin that's full of garbage, they're not going to pick it up, or they shouldn't be picking it up because they can be fined for it on the other end if they're bringing us contaminated loads. So there's that human element that might be missing if we do the automated, but I haven't heard anything about that yet.
One of the big concerns from waste management was that workers' compensation costs were skyrocketing because workers were being worn out picking up, heavy garbage cans and things like that.
Yeah, so that is one of the things that we hear in the recycling in terms of wanting a larger yellow bin because people make a lot of cardboard. But if you notice, when you fill your yellow bin, it's heavier than when you fill your blue bin. And so that's one of the reasons that we haven't gone to a larger yellow bin as an option for the pickup. Now, multifamily communities, that's a different story. They get the bigger containers, and those are auto-loaded, I believe. So, but the average consumer resident isn't making that much. So they want it for convenience, and all that, but that's for the guys lifting.
Okay, that was my questions. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sure.
I just wanted to say this was a great
Oh, thank
presentation.
you.
I learned a lot.
Good.
Glad you were here. Thank you.
No problem.
Michelle.
When you talked about the mercury, so when it's extracted and any other toxic or heavy metals that get extracted, how do they get processed? Where do they go?
So that in particular, I think ends up being mixed in. I'm gonna have to research that first, ask some questions specifically, but my guess is that it is mixed in with the bottom ash and landfill. But I will find out for you for
Okay.
sure, yeah.
Interesting.
Sure, I've got a couple. First of all, impressive. I'm impressed and surprised by how much technology is throughout this entire process. So thank you for going through all that.
Yeah.
And enduring our questions along the way.
No problem.
I do have a few more though, follow-ups. The separation, has anyone, any estimates of perhaps how much garbage, the percent of garbage that is put in the normal garbage bins contain recyclables?
I don't know if that's something we can estimate because of the amount that we get. It's about 1.8 million tons a year. So,
I don't know if there's ever been any studies like, hey, here comes a truck, I know it would take a long
Yeah.
time, right, to do this, but the reason I'm asking the question is there's been a lot of discussion on this committee about how could we get to a single stream for our community. And the reason why, it's just simple, right? It's simple for consumers. They don't have to understand all the do nots, all the do's, the separate. You can include milk cartons over here, but not over there. So I understand the rules, but I'm just trying to think from a consumer standpoint, recycle everything, send it off, and then it be separated. So that would be one of the, I wouldn't say goal necessarily, but it's been a discussion point for us. And after seeing everything that you covered here, I'm not sure it's going to be that easy, right? I know that this is the way we do it in Palm Beach County. Other counties do it differently. There's probably, pros and cons against each approach. But I was just curious if you ever see that occurring. You can see a path to that.
no, we will never go single stream. I will give you an example. Lake Worth Beach, for about 10 years, was not part of the system. They had a contract with Waste Management to take their single stream recyclables out of county. And at that time, throughout the contract, I believe Waste Management was paying them about $10 a ton for their materials. When that contract was up, they came back and said to the city, that's no longer feasible for us. We will be charging you, I think it was $90 a ton to process their recyclables. So the city of Lake Worth Beach said, no, thank you. We will come back to the county's system. And that's why we've got all 39 municipalities participating now.
Yeah, okay.
So that has been fairly recently. I want to say 2018 or so is when they came back to the system.
Okay. And just one last point on the reason for the interest in seeing how many recyclables perhaps end up in garbage. Is to try to determine maybe those are folks who either accidentally did that or just refused to recycle because of the complexity of the system that they, through their eyes, right? Through their eyes. And so I was just curious if the net result of a single stream versus a dual stream, net, are we getting more of everything, all the outcomes that we really want? And I didn't know if you're obviously very, very close to this and probably benchmark the Palm Beach operation off of other counties throughout the country. But I was just curious how we end up ranking in that regard.
Yeah, so you can go online. The DEP publishes reports every year of all the counties and the waste they bring in. The 90% that we have, it does incorporate credits for waste to energy as well as construction and demolition debris recycling. But our traditional rate, I think, I'm going to say we're either 4th or 5th in the state in terms of traditional. And all of the counties above us have well below 1 million people in terms of population.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
That's all the question.
I got it all done during the presentation.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Have you ever partnered with a municipality to have what, I don't know, it's called different things, an Amnesty Day for household hazardous waste?
We were just talking about before, not as far as I'm aware. What we do have, you might have seen on the flyer over here, is we host 2 shred days and collect lithium batteries and other hazardous waste during that time. The main way we handle it is through the transfer station drop-offs. So that's open at any time that the residents want to bring materials there.
Okay.
and within hours, obviously.
Would you be willing to try
I can't commit to anything like that. I can give you the contact information for the people that you can reach out to, though.
Okay. Because this is another point that we've discussed, to some extent. And I'm not saying like all household hazardous waste necessarily. Probably it would be best served to have maybe the top 3 that are produced the most by the households in Tequesta, to be able to make it easy for them to drop off locally versus driving down to Donald Ross.
The problem with that is that then the materials still have to be transported to wherever, and so it's, coordinating that effort. So
Are your trucks certified to transport
we do
hazardous
pick
waste?
up between the transfer stations, yes, but I don't know where the line is, basically. If we do it for Village of Tequesta, do we have to do it for Boca, and then, like that sort of thing. I don't know, so I can give you the contact. It would be Bob Madden, who I think you
Okay.
already reached
Yeah.
out to.
Yep. Okay.
I know, I used to be the village manager here, and I know we had a hazardous materials pickup day in conjunction with waste management in the late 80s or the early 90s. I just don't remember exactly when. But it kind of went, the reason I bring it up is what you said about, the hauling of what's collected, that was done by waste management.
Right.
Yeah, that was their end of the bargain, was that they would take it to you guys.
Yeah, so that would be something for them to figure out on their side.
We already have our answer. Yes, go ahead.
The transfer station's really fabulous, and maybe that's a really neat idea that you all have, having a day here for those people who don't want to just go to Military Trail, but maybe we could do that ourselves within Tequesta and just take it down to the transfer station.
Depends on the
As the
hazardous
environmental
material.
board, or maybe get containers
Doesn't mind driving.
from solid waste.
Use your car?
Have somebody using.
I was gonna say, so one of the concerns
Yeah.
that, people drop off things that are not labeled, or things that you don't know what they are. And so I would hesitate to put that into a personal vehicle, not, next to something that it could possibly interact with, so.
And if I can jump in for a second, so Chief McLaughlin, our fire chief, is here to answer this from the village's perspective.
To the best of my ability.
Chief,
Okay, well, thank you all for having us today,
Well,
too. Sorry. Yes.
So the single stream and dual stream, so your sorting facility, not set up for single stream.
Correct.
Does SWA have facilities anywhere else that are set up for single stream?
No, we're solely Palm Beach County.
You're
so
solely
that's-
Palm Beach County, okay.
Yeah, the county commissioners are actually our board as well. So we're solely responsible for the county's waste.
So completely different companies operate every different county, or?
It depends. In Broward, right now, most of the cities are on their own. They are working on forming an authority, but they manage it individually. So Fort Lauderdale is separate from Deerfield.
Got it, okay. Do you take smoke detectors?
At the home chemical and recycling centers, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any kind?
As far as I'm aware, yes.
Because there are smoke detectors that do have radioactive material in them.
That I'm not sure about. You could always give them a call and check.
Yeah.
Well, we do have radiation detectors at all the sites to make sure that,
Okay,
it might be minor enough, or I don't know how they handle that.
yeah. They're safe as long as the smoke
It's
detector
contained.
isn't tampered or destroyed in some way. Real quick. Okay, super. Thank you so much
You're
for your time. I
welcome.
appreciate it.
No problem. And if anybody has any additional questions, please just let me know and I can pass them along.
Okay.
Are you leaving these things for us?
Yes, I'll leave the materials. I believe we already took some too, so whatever you'd like. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, next discussion, presentation. And you're next. Fire Chief John McLaughlin.
That's correct. I'm John McLaughlin. I've been the fire chief here in equesta. I'm also the emergency manager. Jay approached me a couple of weeks ago. Apparently you've all had discussions about a one-day home hazardous waste type of a collection point. So I'm going to give you a little background about what we do first, and then who we coordinate with for our emergency response for hazardous materials, and then what we do for non-emergency between us and the police department, and then kind of some, I'm not going to go either way on what you all want to go forward with that one day type of thing, but my colleague hit on most of the stuff that I was going to speak about. So first off, we don't have a hazmat team here. We do fire and EMS and water rescue, but we are a support unit for Palm Beach County's hazardous materials response team. As a matter of fact, we had a call on point drive the other day, and we responded with them for a gas leak for a 500-gallon tank that nobody even knew was in the ground. So they did a great job, and we have a great relationship with them when it comes to emergency response for hazardous materials. But we leave it to them because they're all technicians and they're pros. Not emergency-wise, we will take sharps within a sharps container, like needles for people that are diabetics and things of that nature. We do have a drop-off point for that within the fire department, and then that just goes with our needle containers that get picked up by a private subcontracted company that comes for biohazardous waste from the fire rescue department. PD has a pill collection container, so they will take discarded meds that people find and they don't know what they are, they're old in their cabinet, they will take those. So that's kind of what we do emergency, non-emergency wise. On the one-day collection stuff, as she said, I'm not against or for. There's some, and I have a few things written down. I apologize, and I'm not feeling well, so if I have to cough, I'm going to apologize in advance. So there are a few things. There are some liabilities with it. One of them is regulatory stuff, because there is a potential for a spill or a leak or something. As she said, there is an issue with unmarked containers. So this is basically done by a private company, A to Z. They would come here like a Waste Management or an SWS, or is Cliff Berry still in business? Yeah, so they're probably Broward. I'm from Broward, the bulk of my career, and they're a huge waste disposal company down there. And I remember them doing that stuff for single point municipalities. So we would have to hire them. We would have to go outside. It's all subcontracted. They would have to bring in their waste removal and transport people. Getting into the business of transporting hazardous materials, once again, I agree, not in our best interest to do anything like that. We cannot transport hazardous materials other than biohazardous waste we use on an EMS run. That's it. There is an OSHA worker health and safety liability concern as well. Those people bring that with them. They'll have those contracts in place. They'll staff it with their own folks, and we wouldn't have to worry about any of our employees being involved with it whatsoever. The transport and disposal chain of custody issue is also a concern, but once again, the private company handles that. They would handle all the legalities when it came to that type of stuff. The bigger concern for me is in your guys' wheelhouse is the site environmental liability, because I don't know where we'd want to do this at. I don't imagine we'd want to do it out here in front of the hall, maybe at one of the parking lots of the parks, but it causes some headaches. I've seen it done in Fort Lauderdale. It's where I worked for the bulk of my career, and it's not undoable. I would never say it's not. We can get it done, but it just comes with there's some hoops to jump through, is what I'm getting at. And then obviously the contractual and third-party stuff, insurance-wise, that would have to all be handled between the contract that we draw up with whoever we decide to hire. So to get it done, that's all the bad stuff. So getting it done, obviously we'd have to confirm and make it very, very clear what we're going to take and not take, because that's just going to slow down the collection point. Going to Jupiter, to where they have their HHW there, they take just about everything with the exception of the larger nuclear stuff. And I've hopefully no one in the village has anything that large of nuclear waste to take down there. Medical things of that nature they can't take, but I've gotten lots of calls on marine waste, being flares and marine batteries and fuel and things like that. So I lean them all to Jupiter, and everybody's been fairly successful getting their stuff taken there. I haven't had any concerns. experienced licensed contractor and somebody that can transport this. Obviously, the insurance issues, a site-specific safety plan. I'm a Florida State safety officer, so I could obviously deal with that and save us some issues there. Once again, we would have to set what materials, how much they could bring. We can't have somebody rolling in here with a 500-gallon gas tank, which if you don't set that, they will. Especially if you limit it outside of the village and people that are residents of the villages, the village of equesta, pardon me. Traffic control and public safety, PD would probably have to be involved in this in some way. Obviously, the documentation of it all, if you can possibly catalog what you're doing and what you're taking. And then we would have to be coordinating with Palm Beach County and maybe even Martin County for their hazardous materials team in case we did have some type of a release or something we weren't able to diagnose or figure out what it was, because not everything is going to come with a label. You got to have a lot of unmarked stuff. People move into houses, they leave the garages full of, house I bought had a garage full of stuff that I had to take to Martin County's facility. And then obviously our village attorney would have to look at any contract and make sure that it's all above board and that it's the risk is worth or the reward is worth the risk, because there is some inherent risk there. I'm sorry I don't have a fantastic slideshow. That was awesome. I learned so much. More or less is my information to give you, and if you have any questions for me, I am a hazmat tech as well, but I'm the only one in the department, so it'd be hard for me to do this by myself. But if you want to move forward with this, I obviously can help and give you some guidance however I can, as long as I'm working with my colleagues over there and whatever, whoever we go out to bid with. But I don't think it's a bad idea. I just don't know how feasible it is, if you want my honest opinion on it.
You just don't think it's a good idea?
I think it's a great, because I've seen it done and it's successful. People get rid of a lot of stuff. We had people that we turned away. People were showing up with old ammunition and old World War II stuff, and the cops were having to come over and deal with it. So, like, isn't this a hazmat? I'm like, it sure is. Please go over there, far away, whatever. Run. So, once again, I think it's a great idea. It's a great initiative, but Jupiter is very close. I know it's not around the corner, but it is close enough to get rid of this stuff without us, inheriting some of the liability and the cost that comes with this. But that's really what I have. I'm trying not to lean you in either direction. I will assist in any way you need, but if you all have any questions for me, I'm glad to take them. I hope I can answer.
No, that was very informative.
Thank you.
I realize it's more in depth than we think, just throwing an idea out.
I'm
So
glad she said
thank
all
you
that
for
too, because I was like, God, now I'm validated. I feel great. I feel much better about myself, I'm really off the cuff here a little bit, so.
That was very helpful.
No problem, thank you.
You had a very good outline in your presentation.
Thank you.
The steps that would be needed to make it successful.
Yeah.
And it may be more than we can handle right now. But
And once again, I might be able to streamline some of this stuff, but once again, I would have to dig a lot deeper, get with Public Works, get with Jay, and see what we can come up with to,
The other thing I wanted to
put this
say is,
together.
I mentioned to everybody that back in the late 80s, early 90s, we did that here in
Sure.
Equesta. But I'm pretty sure that they had not opened the Donald Ross drop-off spot
Possibly not.
at that time.
It was not there.
But I
Okay.
can tell you, is in my case, like let's say every 10 years I clear out the garage
Sure.
with all this crap. I don't feel very comfortable driving down the highway with that stuff in my car.
I agree 100%. I agree. And the thing with the late 80s, early 90s, I got into the business in the early 90s, and we used to transport, our hazmat teams would transport the hazardous materials. Now we don't touch any of it. It's all done by third-party private contractors, and they have to contract with whoever the business is that had the release or the homeowner. We can't even guide them on the internet. We just have to tell them, call somebody to come get this tank out of here or whatever you have. And they have to do it because we can't lead them in a certain way. But the EPA regulations and OSHA regulations and HAZWOPER stuff, and there's been so many bills and so many acts that have come since then with environmental protection related items. It's very difficult now. Hazmat is its own animal. It's a lot. Even the education has probably tripled since the early 90s to become a tech. Yeah. Anything else, Michelle?
Not directly
Okay.
for Fire Chief, but to still talk about this topic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wade?
Thank you
Yeah,
very
I just
much.
want to say thank you. You covered a lot of practical things that need to be considered that we haven't really discussed in depth, so thank you for that.
Of course.
This whole discussion between both of you, it just reminds me, or made me, finally a light bulb for me went off, is there are some materials out there that aren't acceptable by many people at all. And so what practically happens with those materials? Do consumers just, our community, they just keep them and contain them in their homes? Does that create a future fire hazard in their
100%.
home?
100%.
Is there some
Dump
other
them
way?
down.
Do they just throw them away in garbage thinking, hey, I'll get away with
The
it?
short answer to that is yes, that people just throw stuff away, and I'm sure you can absolutely relate. I've been in fires that have, ammunition has been going off in the house we're in.
Right.
I mean, during a hurricane, actually. So if you have everything happen all at once, that happened to us, and I'm like, what is that? And my buddy's a gun guy, and he goes, oh, those are rounds. He probably has a box of ammo near where the fire is. I went, are we all right? Like, he goes, yeah, we're good. I didn't feel real comfortable, but once again, this happens all the time. I'm sure people throw out the wrong stuff every day, all day long. And because they have that same concern you do, like, what do I do with it? It was here when I bought the house, or it's my granddad's old ammo, or a World War II collection of hand grenades. What do I do with it? Oh, they're inert. Well, I don't trust any of that either, especially driving down the road. So I agree.
I just think about that practicality and then step back and go, is with an idea like this, even with all the impediments and
Sure.
things that need to be considered in its place, would it still be worthwhile in the net, of what other alternatives are going to occur? So we could say, no, we're not going to take it. We don't want to. It's a lot of work. But then the alternative could be worse. That's just wrapped in my mind right now. I'm not sure what the right answer is, but just
I don't
another
disagree.
comment on
There's
it.
definitely fire hazards out there of things that people leave in their homes and they move into, they inherit a family member's home, whatever, someone passes, any of these things, and then they get in there and they just don't know what to do with it. You call the fire department, we don't do that. You call police department, we don't do that. You call solid waste, well, they do most, they do almost everything, but once again, radioactive stuff, what do you do? I totally agree, but we would once again have to set some limitations on what we can take as well. And so there's obviously a few discussions to get this down the road. Once again, I'm not unwilling to try. I'll help you in any way you want.
It's certainly a problem or a challenge.
So,
Like, do we insert ourselves into that problem
Sure,
challenge?
yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
not, but it's
Yeah.
a good discussion.
Sure.
Thank you, though.
not a problem.
I will say the industry, the solid waste industry is also pushing for producer responsibility and not putting things into the market until there's a disposal solution for those products, like
That's a
lithium
real issue.
batteries.
Yeah.
They were talking about, there's a new vape pen that has a game on it that you get more points the deeper you inhale the vape. So not only do you have the lithium battery and the chemicals in the vape pen, but you have electronics with it too. It's a whole mess, but not allowing these things out into the consumer market until there's a disposal for it.
Yeah. Thank you.
One question. So in your experience working, or maybe indirectly working with some of the private contractors that you would contract with to collect as well as transport, so is it kind of like they do everything?
It all depends on the contract you get with them. Like if you say, hey, we're going to provide you X, Y, and Z, you have to do, they're going to ask you probably, what do you need? Do we need techs out here? Because they're going to be the ones transporting it. So they're not going to want to just drop off a container and go when it's full calls.
So
it's not like that.
They'll be much more engaged in managing the whole process.
I would say in our best interest, I would have them run the whole show, honestly. And then we have a site safety team out there, which would be myself and people from my group. We would have PD out there for crowd and traffic control if anybody brought some type of a firearm to dispose of or anything like that, because they do that over there. Same thing with medical waste. We could be there to take sharp boxes that day, once again, and then have maybe Palm Beach County's hazmat team, and we can make it more than just a drop off. We could, and just thinking outside the box, kind of like the coffee with a cop thing they do at the paper shredding day. Maybe we could do a little more with it, and have something, for come see the truck or something. I'm just thinking outside the box a little bit. But once again, it's not an unwinnable project. It's just going to be one of those things where we'd have to find that third party, depending on the cost. I've seen some different numbers, but they're crazy. crazy. Like they're averaging $50 to $100 per person, not knowing what the actual material is what I've seen. But that's a pretty wide range to pick up the bill when you don't know what it is, because that's how they charge you. They can't go, hey, we're going to charge you $10,000, then you fill up 4 tractor trailers, and that was a little more than
Would you
expect.
expect?
Yeah, I don't know. That's the thing, is I've never really been on the admin side of this. I've been more on the hazardous material side of it as an operator and as a tech. Just in case there was a spill, we were on a standby for it, for something similar to this.
Fire chief mentioned Cliff Berry. If they're still in business, that would be
Good place
a
to
good
start.
contact to talk.
Yeah, you've got Waste Management, you've got SWS, you've got CDI. I just don't know they all buy each other as they get bigger, and I don't even know who's runs those. I mean, I see Waste Management around here all the time, but that's really it. CBI is more of a commercial waste transport type company, same with SWS down south. I don't even know if they operate in Palm Beach County, to be honest with you. So.
One of our thoughts might be starting small, just do a specific item.
Paint and batteries and maybe one other
Yeah,
thing.
that could be something, sure.
That kind of start off.
And
with
certain
something
paints
simple.
can go actually in your regular waste. I just found that out today, which I didn't know.
Paint
Correct?
can?
Water-based paints can go in your regular garbage.
Dried though.
Yeah, as long as it's dried out.
Oh,
Once it's dried, you can put it in your regular, it's the oil-based stuff and mineral spirits and all that has to go with hazardous materials. Or what they call HHW.
yeah.
I think one of our biggest problems is we probably have a huge portion of the population that does not know that the transfer station and drop-off on near Donald Ross Road exists.
Right.
You could put it in your newsletter.
And it's no cost to the user. They've got great hours. I'm not trying to sell, but it is a great option, you know.
Yeah, that's good.
So-
That
Okay. Any other questions for the chief?
Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And
You're
you guys
welcome.
can reach out to me individually, personally, whatever you guys want. If you need any more information, if you want me to come back to another workshop or meeting, I'm glad to.
Thank you
Ryan.
so
Have a
much.
great day.
Feel better.
Be safe.
You're well.
If I can jump in, our deadline for smoke signals is next Monday, so that's the newsletter that goes out. So we probably have some time to put something together if you want to get something in the newsletter. Let me
Part
know.
of our educational part of it can be starting off with the information that was provided today. And also little bits and bobs like the dried water-based paints, that you can dispose of that in your regular trash. And then also letting them know where SWA is located for creating.
It's free.
It's free.
Yeah, it is great.
We'll talk about that. Absolutely.
Maybe we organize a day everybody drives their own stuff.
Maybe encourage.
Yeah, just to get an encouragement going
Yeah.
of
Give them all
All
a
right.
gift card when
Good.
we get down there.
We can talk in a second here about this. We're gonna charge ahead at the consent agenda. The minutes from our last meeting in September. Any changes to them that need to be made? Okay, we'll make a motion.
Somebody want to make a motion? Well, I read them. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of whatever the date is of the last meeting.
September 10th.
I don't have it in front of me.
It's September 10th.
September 10th, 2025.
I second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Motion carries. All right, new business, the regular agenda. So yeah, I gave a little dog and pony show to council. God, when was that?
Like maybe that same week it was set.
Yeah, it was the day after our last meeting. So I think it went well, and I took your advice, Wade, because I thought that really kind of crystallized everything with regard to marrying up the strategic goals and initiatives of equesta with ours, gave it more weight. I think I sent that to you,
Yes, yeah.
everyone. So the response from council, I think, was overall positive on all of our initiatives. They thank all of you for your service here. And let me see if I have anything specific with regard to So one of the comments from, I don't know which council member, regarding the living shorelines, they wanted to wait perhaps to see how the Adopt a Tree program works out, which was just instituted not too long ago. And then perhaps at a later date include mangroves in the Adopt a Tree program. Filtering wastewater or filtering stormwater drains, that I think is going to open up a can of worms similar to our Amnesty Day, where there's a lot more that's involved with it, primarily maintenance on the filtering mechanisms that are available for stormwater drains. But it's something that they didn't discount or discredit. It's just something that needs more research and data, probably pricing as well. I don't know, I was going to talk about recycling. I think we are probably pretty close to finalizing what our recycling effort with single stream is going to be. Storm drain signage. They were all for. I think the primary response from them was identify the stormwater drains that the button has already fallen off or is defaced, and you'll see later on in the agenda a couple pictures I took of storm drains into Equesta Country Club where that's the case. But they're all for that. I think there was a positive on that. And then the Amnesty, they really liked the Amnesty Day. So I think if it comes down to having to contract with a private company, I think that they would at least listen to it. It wouldn't be just a no. But you know, we have to do a little bit of legwork to come up with what they're going to be responsible for, the private entity and the private contractor, and how much it's going to cost. Probably switch the order on those, how much it's going to cost. So that's kind of a rundown of my talk. It's online if you want to hear me.
I watched it live on YouTube, and I thought you did a great job, and they interacted very, what's the right word? They interacted with you on many things that you brought up, so that's a good sign. And they, like you said, they were very pleased with what we did and thankful for what we do. You did a great job.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thanks, Brad.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So we got a couple things in old business. What I'd like to do, because I'm the chair and I can do this, is I'd like to skip down to any other matters, and explore the addition to that we motioned to earlier in the meeting. Did everyone, and this relates to Marie's discussion with us earlier in the meeting. Let me see if did everyone have a chance to read the old ordinance and the proposed new code?
I did not,
You did not.
so.
Did you
that's why I
happen
was
to get
interested.
an email from?
Marie's husband?
Yeah,
Yes.
is it your husband? Well, I thought it was sent to the entire
Well,
committee.
what he wrote to me was that he tried to send it to my equesta.org, and I wrote him back. I said, I haven't had access to equesta.org for 3 months.
Yeah, I haven't either. I mean,
That's where it went.
And so I don't know. I bring that up again. I don't know. I saw Brian was in here earlier.
I just
I
feel
can't
like
even get
Jay
in.
sends to mine.
All right, so I might be the only one who received it, I guess.
If they sent it to that, no way I saw it, because I can't get in there.
What I will do is, but we have some of the ones that, you guys that can't get to equesta.org emails,
I
we have your personal email.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, and I think Mark Sapiri did send what he sent to tequesta.org to me once he learned that I
Okay.
have no access to tequesta.org.
But the rest of you don't.
But I haven't had a time to read what he sent, but I knew from watching that workshop meeting where they brought this subject up was we had some problems. So, so that's why I wanted to talk about it, that's all.
Okay. So from a process standpoint, Jay, so that was workshopped, what, last month?
Yes.
And so the next step would be, it would get onto their agenda.
In a draft code format. I think given the amount of discussion that happened at that meeting, they're kind of going back to the drawing board a little bit and taking some of that feedback into consideration.
Okay.
So from my understanding, I don't think they intend to bring anything formally to council until maybe like January
Okay.
ballpark. So there would be some time for the EAC to provide some input between now and then.
Okay. Perfect. Good. That would also give everyone a opportunity to read both codes, unless you want to.
I want to tell you what I freaked out about while I was watching it was there's, Marie touched on it when she spoke earlier. There's nothing wrong with them consolidating things in the code of ordinances that are just all over the place and bringing it into one simple place to see, to easily understand what's being required, okay? That's not a problem for me. Permitting, meaning, John and Susan Doe that live at, 1 Main Street, if they want to plant something in the right-of-way, I have no problem with them being required to submit a permit. That's the norm in the United States. If you want something in the right-of-way, odds are you're not going to get it, but if you do have the opportunity to get it, you must submit a permit application so the city can know exactly what it is you're doing. I want to tell you, in Tequesta Pines where I live, we all have sidewalks. The entire neighborhood has sidewalks. The right-of-way is roughly 60 feet in width, and we all have swales. Okay? And the swales are maintained because they work. Okay? And we have trees. In fact, we are required to have trees in the swale. Okay? So far, but Laurie Brandon said something that was spot on, and I'm going to paraphrase what she said to make this point. And what she said was that all rights of way are not created equal, basically. She gave examples in Tequesta Country Club where she was aware of places where you could easily plant trees without damaging any infrastructure. In my neighborhood, now at that workshop, they presented diagrams, let's call it, that showed every type of utility that you can think of, all being in the right-of-way. Okay. Well, that would be very difficult to do anything in the swale, because swale is part of the right-of-way. But using Tequesta Pines, where I live, every property has on the inside, meaning towards their home, on the inner edge of the sidewalk, has a 10-foot utility easement, okay? And in our 10-foot utility easement is the underground Florida Power and Light, underground AT&T, and underground Xfinity, okay? So we don't match the diagram, the picture, the photograph, whatever it was. We have more space in our right-of-way than what that diagram showed. So Laurie's right. All rights-of-way are not created equal, okay? And basically what the staff member said was, this will not happen overnight. So if Wade went and got a permit to put in a new driveway, and let's say he didn't have a swale or it was, hadn't been maintained properly, they're going to make him create that proper slope and swale, okay? And remove any tree that you may have in your swale. And that just goes off, what we would end up over time just being a dull and barren place. How can you have rules that end up having no trees, no shade? It just makes no sense. They have to come up with a way where the utilities and the trees can coexist.
What's the main purpose for them suggesting or submitting that it just be barren and sod? What's the main drive for that?
They want simplicity and the lowest possible cost to access the swale area when construction of any kind is needed. So a tree is a problematic thing if you want to put in a new storm system in the swale or put in a new electric line or whatever it may be. So not having the tree makes it easier to construct something new, and then enforcement thereafter means they don't really need to worry about it in the future when they have to come back in and do something. That's I could be wrong, Michelle. I'm just.
And that cost is burdened on the city?
The what?
That additional cost, if there's a tree that needs to be removed,
Who
pays that cost?
They didn't dive into that, but usually, in my experience, for example, in Palm Beach, if they had a tree in the right of way and we needed to remove it, we removed it at our cost. If they wanted it back, we had to approve that too, because it's a right of way permit is required in Palm Beach. But it's too bad. You're going to plant a younger tree, but it will grow back in time. And these types of utilities, folks, most of them last 50 plus years, so it's not a big deal for that tree to grow back and replant.
Yeah.
Can I add something to that?
Yeah.
So I could be completely wrong here. I'm not a drainage engineer, but I do think that one component they may be considering is that the trees can impact the effectiveness of the swale itself. So sometimes they have to come in and recut the swales so that they function a little bit, they carry a little more water or move the water more quickly. And I think sometimes the trees can impact that. Again, not the final answer. I think you guys would really need to talk to our utilities director and public works director, but there might be a functional purpose as well. So
There's got to be some medium place to meet, because that would look aesthetically atrocious
Right.
to have
Yeah.
just the barren.
But you may be right, Jay. But the question, but to have a blanket rule that says no, you can't have a tree in that swale. There may be places where you could put it, and I'll tell you something else. I know that the public works directors and sometimes the village manager, they're not happy with all of those oak trees we planted back in the day, because they make pathways, sidewalks, roadways have problems. But the village has never implemented an annual root pruning program. They have to root prune or you're going to get uplifted sidewalks, and they just never have done it. When we planted them, they were young, and towards the end of my tenure here, we started root pruning on Country Club Drive in particular. I remember that. But after I left, it's not in the budget. They've never done it. And so you get exactly what happens with roots if you don't root prune. So there are ways to manage all of this stuff, and it's just one size doesn't fit all, and they need to have an open mind, and we have to look closely at this ordinance that comes back to see that if it's reasonable and that it doesn't create a barren community with no trees in it over time. That's just my opinion. You may not agree, but I'm just letting you know what it looks like at this point.
So in planning, we always like to look at the context sensitivity of every situation. And I think that's what you're saying, right? You have to look at the specific situation. And so it sounds like, the code is overly prescriptive and doesn't allow you to look at the context of what each individual user would be trying to do. So perhaps what we could do is have, I'll get myself in trouble, Jeremy, or other village staff, but perhaps I could get the utilities director and public works director to come here and maybe workshop some of these concepts with you before they take it back to village council. Is that something you guys would like to have? Because maybe, and in that meantime, if they do come, perhaps you can think of some situations where we would want to allow a tree to happen.
Yeah.
Do you know when the next meeting, village council meeting is regarding this?
So yeah, I think they're, from what I understand, not going to bring it back until December or January because they wanted to work on some stuff. So there probably is a little bit of time to workshop it and kick it around a little bit. So if you wanted to, we could probably throw it on the November agenda.
Yeah, no, I think that would, for sure. Yeah, I think it would give us a lot of information and detail as to what the driving force here is. Question. So every permit, it seems you can request a variance, right? Let's say this new code passes. Wouldn't it just go through that process where you apply for a variance and whomever would go out and look at that particular spot and say, okay, yeah, you can actually plant an oak tree there, or you can't.
So you can't apply for a variance on property that you don't own, right? So we're the owner of the right of way, and so that's why I think it is important to have a policy.
Isn't it 25 feet from the roadway
In all areas?
the whole way up,
You
right?
mean-
So it's 10, so in a lot of areas, it's roadway to the sidewalk, and then, like Tom, you were mentioning, on the other side of the sidewalk is another 10 feet. I think it's a total of 20, 25 feet.
It varies throughout the village, the width of the right of way.
The other thing I want to say, look, if you look at this on YouTube, and you can go to the village YouTube, and it was the last workshop meeting, I think, and there's lots of confusion. In fact, it could be that some of the things I just told you and the opinions that could all be based on confusion. So I just I just want to make sure that you know it's a very confusing subject, and sometimes they say this and makes you think they're going to do this and they're not. It's crazy, but
There's a workshop date on here that was September 29th.
that sound right, Jay? September 29th, I think.
That's correct. I can email it to everyone as well.
Thank you.
It's also on here.
Thank you.
Is this wrapped into all the concerns with the drainage, with all the new construction happening and keeping all the drainage on each lot? And is this kind of together at all?
Not specifically. I believe the genesis of it is more people planting artificial turf in the right of way. I don't know if that's gotten around to your social circles, but we've had a few situations where that happened, and we've had code enforcement where so we want to establish a formal policy for what can and cannot go in the right of way.
And that's normal. It's the norm across America, and it's past time for Tequesta to make that the case. But no trees, that just is beyond the pale in my mind.
Okay, so I think if we can get Public Works or utilities to come in next.
Yeah, I can't make any promises, but I'll try to get some people together.
But I think we have some time, so maybe in the meantime we all go take a look at that YouTube and get caught up on kind of the details and what was discussed at the committee meeting. And I will send to your private emails, those that can't get to Questa.org, the information that was emailed to me. And then
I want to mention something for Jay and all of us. My recollection on us using Tequesta.org primarily came from the clerk's office, because when we communicate on EAC matters, and we used equesta.org, she automatically has a copy of it somewhere in case there's a public records request, and she has access and can give it to the person that's making the request. It's not happening right now, and I don't know what to do. Have you spoken to them and let them know that we're having, some of us are having trouble?
I'll circle back with our IT department about it.
Michelle has a question. I mean, I said.
Oh, get Marie.
Sorry, Marie.
Yeah, it's
It's
okay.
Michelle.
Sorry. I just wanted, so I agree with Mr. Bradford that it does need to be, my concern with the code text that we were presented with for the council workshop last week was that it doesn't have that nuance. And I think that the previous ordinance, which was passed in 2019, does provide for that. Like, it contemplates that in the swale guidelines, it said, a quote, low impact design principles such as bioswales and other creative stormwater management techniques are encouraged. But it also speaks to the swale depths and needing to be in comport with the original ones, which is understandable. We need the swales, they work well, but we can make them, the thing I like about the current ordinance is that, not the one that's proposed, but the current one that's in effect now, is that by permitting bioswales, so plantings that are designed to both slow the water down before it gets to the storm drain, which I think is important and have seen in my own front space happen, that the water, you're not only filtering out grass clippings that are coming from other yards, and you're filtering leaves and filtering trash in some cases, and I have a storm drain right next to me. We're the filter, so we're stopping it. And and I have seen conversely when there's just grass next to the storm drain that doesn't happen. And I saw one across the street from me fill with grass clippings during a heavy downpour rain that we had. In terms of the code, and I only had the text in front of me when I was doing that was proposed. So I don't know what revisions might be in the works. But in terms of it not happening overnight, actually, as it was written, it did require immediate compliance. So things that are in the swales or are in the right-of-way, I realize the right-of-way is bigger than the swales. Those would need, in theory, in the exact text of the code that was presented, would be out of compliance. And as the code is written, it says those need to be removed. I understand that was maybe not the intent, but it does need to, I think that needs to be made clear that we're actually okay with the trees that are there now, because I don't want to see trees, I don't want to see hedges that are not causing a problem currently and actually very unlikely, especially with the new materials, to cause a problem, because in researching this, the roots aren't actually, they're not breaking open the pipes. When pipes have a leak in them, the trees obviously they'll go into the sewer because there are nutrients there, they'll go into the water because they're looking for water. But it's not the tree impacting the pipe, it's that the pipe already had a problem, a materials weakness. So I think, especially with our new pipes, that's much less of a risk for the trees there. And on enforcement, actually, there are provisions here where the resident would pay, the village could take things out, and the resident would be responsible for the cost. And the other thing I wanted to note is that I do think it's important. I know at Cornell, there's been a lot of their school has done a lot of work on bioswales. That's very interesting, especially the use of not just wildflowers, but shrubs and trees and street trees, both not only protecting the infrastructure and keeping the water in place and also filtering it and helping infiltrate, but so they make the swales function better. But there's also studies that show, in terms of protecting infrastructure, that your street trees that shade the asphalt cause roads to be need repaving less frequently, which is a benefit that we'd be stripping if we took the trees out. So I just really would not like to lose trees or a lot of the other beneficial plants. And I think we can do this, definitely.
So, since you came back up,
Yep.
I have a question. with regard, well, I agree with the trees and the tree canopy, and it also makes for a more comfortable walk in the middle of the day. My question with regard to vegetation that's planted, especially in the swale area. Okay, so there's an allowance of a tree or of a shrub or a plant from the list that is allowable, at least in Tequesta. Is there any engineering that's done? Because you'd mentioned, okay, well, you kind of want to collect the water there, and it does filter, and I know the benefits absolutely of that happening before it goes into the stormwater drain. But sometimes too much pooling is a bad thing. And I don't know, like just saying, okay, well, we can plant this sort of plant right here. Does someone do that engineering to make sure that it doesn't slow it up too much? So, you're flooding the front of your house and creating problems for you and your neighbors and everything else. I don't know the answer. You may not know the answer either, but it's something that just popped in my head. I'm like, well, I know the benefits of that pooling and that filtration, but there's got to be a drawback somewhere. And maybe it's an extreme case, but I don't.
Yeah, so I'd have to look into that more for you. I mean, my background is in the law, but I think that I believe that work has been done. There is a lot of if you type in bioswales, right, like you'll find a lot of places that have been working on that to try and help infiltrate water in place. And yes, I understand. I do think the pooling is part. You don't want it backing up, but you also don't. You want properties to hold water as well, rather than rush stuff to the storm drain. And I think when you're going to see that, I would guess would be backup is when the storm drains are full. There's going to be things held, but that's not gonna. You're gonna have that problem if you have sod swales too. And trees also. I think that there are definitely in studies on street trees. They do help keep water. Not only do they absorb it themselves, but they even hold them on their canopy. I mean, I was just looking at the sea grapes. They must be holding gallons of water just on their leaves after a rain event. That's not even getting to the ground.
I think we as a committee need to do some homework in the next month before we come back next month. Because there's a lot that kind of can go into it. A lot of detail.
Well, thank you very much.
I appreciate you coming back.
Yeah, all right, thank you.
The other thing I had under any other matters was to ask Jay if, I think 2 months ago I brought up section 78-3, I can't even read, 395, which requires a 10-foot barrier, not a barrier, but a landscape low maintenance area along the shoreline of any property. Did you hear anything back from Wayne as to whether he was enforcing this rule now?
I apologize, I forgot. I'll make a note to follow up with him and get some information to you about that.
Okay, that's great. That's all I had.
All right, so we'll do this very quickly. The old business, Tequesta Hazardous Waste Amnesty Day, I think we talked about that. In my mind, I think that probably the next logical step would be to engage with a private contractor that can manage the whole process.
And find out what their costs are, what the operations, the whole.
What they do, what the cost is.
Get maybe like 3 of them if they're available.
Yeah.
Present it to Jay. Save their
Because we're not a department, we can't, we have to go through a department to get funding. But I will say, like I said in the very beginning, council was, and everyone on council was excited about that one.
And again,
probably the most.
It may be just a specialty item. won't be covering the entire hazardous waste options, just to get it going,
Yeah.
you know, and identify which items would be the most,
The top 2, 3, maybe 5 household hazardous wastes that are most common. You know, probably batteries, probably paint, maybe oils, you know. And just start small and see what see if it can have or grow legs.
and even that, offering that to a community brings awareness that the facility is available,
Yeah.
you know?
It'd be an opportunity to. You were gonna say something, Jay?
Putting my government bureaucrat hat on here, they did love the idea of it as like a volunteer event. We don't know how they would support it if it's going to cost, you know, $10,000. So
We'll just find out.
we'll find that out.
They like the idea.
But they love the idea as a volunteer event.
I didn't catch that part. As a volunteer, who's gonna volunteer to collect hazardous waste?
Well, no, I mean as a free event, like so the paper cleanup thing that we do is free, right? So presuming that it would be that like SWA, if somebody would come out here, that they also weren't aware that there's an SWA pickup facility that's a 10-minute drive away. So they may not be as supportive of paying $10,000 so that people can save a 5-minute drive.
It's not 5 minutes.
Well, if you're in the country,
Half run
From
out.
my house.
so when there's no traffic, it's a 12-minute drive from here to the facility over there.
Takes me 12
7.
minutes.
You must be a very
At 6 in the morning?
I mean, that's Google Maps. But if you lived in the country club, it'd take you 5 minutes just to get to Tequesta Park, which is where we'd probably have the pickup event. So I'm just playing devil's advocate here because they may not be all in on paying money for it.
No, I get that.
Money.
I get that. But you know, it's better than them just saying, no, this is an idiotic idea right from the get-go.
Let them tell us no.
But they also did like the stormwater drain. Oh, any other comments about that? Stormwater drain signage. They were all on board with that as well. I don't know who would be the person that would go around. I mean, I walked my dog into Equesta Country Club. I found 2 that don't have the signage. If that's the idea, then
I mean, if you guys want to do something fun, you could split the village up into districts and see how many you can find that don't have them.
and if we do that, there'll be budget to put that signage back on.
I think we actually already have the extra buttons already in stock.
What about something a bit more, how should I put it, conspicuous, or would it be inconspicuous?
Yeah, that's a whole different discussion. Because then we'd have to design that and figure out which ones you'd want to put those on. So I think that's a whole other discussion for you guys to have.
You know, years ago, when this board was created early on, we wanted to send letters to permitted, or what's the right word, to landscapers that are operating in Tequesta. And we got a list. We were shocked at how scrawny the list was. There's only like 8 people who had permits to actually operate in Tequesta. So, but that's one thing too, is, I mean, yeah, let's figure out how many we need and put somewhere. But we need to let the landscapers also know, hey, look, tell your workers not to put clippings into the storm drains.
In the river. I see an opportunity for community involvement with the buttons
Yeah.
to create some type of activity of identify the buttons and text it in or whatever and get a $5 Starbucks gift card or something or some other, but I see an opportunity there to make it a fun community opportunity, and it kind of gives ownership too, awareness. Instead of just having Public Works go and identify them, now the community's aware of them.
Okay. All right. There's got to be an easier way. I mean, you want to like scour around in Tequesta? Wouldn't
Are you looking for the
utilities have like I know that they do maintenance on those things. I've seen the guys sucking out, I don't know, whatever, vacuuming out the storm drains.
I can talk to them about it. There's always a challenge with having advisory boards basically directing staff to do tasks, right? So it's typically not how government functions. So if I go to the public works director and say, hey, the EAC wants you guys to go scour every manhole in the village, they say we're overstaffed right now. I don't, so it's a challenge.
Frame the question a little different.
Sure. Yeah.
How many?
Ask them if they have noticed if any of the buttons have been ripped off or defaced or damaged. If they remember, like I don't know how often they go out there and vacuum those storm drains out, but maybe they don't. And if that's the answer, fine. I'm not going to direct anyone. This is an advisory committee, all right?
Yeah.
But it sure beats. I mean, I can do my little area where I walk my dogs, but that's like 4 streets of Tequesta Country Club, and we have 2 other committee members that live in Tequesta Country Club.
That's why I see an opportunity for community involvement. You divide it up into areas and then present some type of reward, I'll use the word reward, or incentive, to get people walking their dogs. Notice them, text in the location or whatever. Again, it brings awareness to it and not just a maintenance situation. I like the idea of bringing people's awareness to what a storm drain is, number one, and what its function is and how it affects our environment.
But it's the norm for a stormwater utility to know how many storm drain inlets do we have, and
It's gotta be recognized.
how many of them do and do not have these buttons. It may be something they already know.
They know how many storm drains they have. I don't think they would know how many are missing, but I'll send an email to the village manager and to the utilities director, basically directing them to do this. And to Michelle's point, it might actually be a good opportunity to explain to the public what they're for and why we don't want people to flush things down, and at the same time say, hey, by the way, if you've noticed that your storm drains don't have these, please send an email to so-and-so,
Michelle.
Fine.
to Chair Brad Freese.
That's fine.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I know that they're really swamped with work right now. So I'm not trying to be difficult. I just, but yeah, we can start having a dialogue with them about that for
We
sure.
wanted our committee to go out and show us how to apply them.
Yeah.
We could do it.
Super
we
glue.
just glue everything on there.
Gorilla glue.
I'm assuming that's all it is.
We're working around a challenge though. We need to address the
I
challenge.
think,
Go ahead.
I'm not sure, but I think if somebody from the board called Catie Incon, I think they have a map of all of them, don't they?
Somebody has a map.
Oh, well,
the guys
they were the ones who pushed this whole thing.
No,
I think if you called and asked for a map of where all of them are in Tequesta, they could provide that and wouldn't have to pull
sure.
You're talking about Loxahatchee District, the
the river district.
Yeah, okay.
Incon was part of that whole thing back then, putting them.
Yeah, you're
They spearheaded the whole thing. And I don't know, I'm not sure about what these buttons are that you're talking about, but they might not be able to tell you about that, but that's something, you can just walk around and see it.
I'm getting live
But again,
text.
education in the newsletter would be great, just to mention those storm drains every couple of years, because the dog walkers put their poop bags into the drains, and it's really bad. And the fish catchers kill and clean or they were for a while, doing their fish cleanup and putting it down the drains.
Okay. Yeah, I like the community opportunity to.
It's just the education though, it often helps in that newsletter, is wonderful.
Okay, I'm getting live text from Marjorie, who does watch the meetings a lot of the times live, FYI. She said she would love to know where the missing discs are, and that said that they do replace them when they're missing. So they do that actively, but there's so many in the village that I think that they probably don't have an exact number for that. But I'll circle back with her and see if they could make it a priority.
So, okay, so the next step then would be, I'll call Waxahachie River District and see if they have a map of all the stormwater drains. Then it just becomes a matter of whomever.
I bet that Marjorie probably has that.
She might.
They do have that.
Prior to the director before Marjorie, I forgot his name, Matt something. He did GPS coordinates for every the distribution line for the drainage, as well as where the inlets located. I don't know if he ended up he did it for my neighborhood, but I don't know if he was able to finish it before he left for the whole village. Because I can remember him sending me an email and said, "Hey Tom, can you verify that I got this right for my neighborhood?" You know, and it was like a map. It was a dot and a code. The code told you what that was, inlet or.
So someone's done the work.
Yeah. So it may exist. It's margin.
They do have a map of the stormwater drains, so they know every single one.
Thanks, Marjorie.
Here's course of action. It's a little late to get things into smoke signals. The deadline is Monday, but we could probably make it work to put in a little blurb in smoke signals. It has a picture of the inlets, and do a little bit of education. Say, hey, FYI, did you know that your stormwater goes to the Waxahachie? Please be mindful. All the best practices stuff that I think we've talked about, and then perhaps I'll put a little thing in there that says, if you've noticed a storm drain that's missing one, please contact the village and we'll replace it. So that way, Brad's not having to scour the village, and the Public Works Department, also they can probably make an effort, but they may not see every single one.
All right, anything else on that?
No contest.
You're welcome to head that subcommittee up. Okay, any general comments?
I have a question for the board. Do you, after seeing the presentation, are you still interested in pursuing single stream?
I don't see, my opinion, I don't see how there's a
Like a
way
dead end?
forward.
She put the hammer down, it's not happening.
Yeah, I don't think it was necessarily her. I think it was their infrastructure is set up for the dual stream.
Right.
Well, yes, but, okay, I asked the question because I have a motive. I asked the question because I know how to do it, and I know exactly all of the steps. Where I'm not saying that this step can, let's say it was 8 steps to be able to make it happen. I'm not saying that it will end up being successful and that we would be able to do it. I'm just telling you, I know the steps that are necessary in order to do it, and I'll just briefly tell you how. First of all, you've got to find out from the staff and or elected officials if it's doable, would they be open to it? And that you would volunteer, me, whoever, would volunteer to do the legwork, okay? Here's what we know. Martin County uses single stream. In other words, all of their recycling goes into one bin and is commingled and then processed, okay? So you have on our next door neighbor is doing what some of us would like to do. And a large portion, if not all of Martin County is served by Waste Management, the same company we do. You heard the girl that gave this SWA presentation say that Lake Worth Beach was not part of the program, but then they had this hiccup and they became part. You can also get out of the program with Palm Beach County. And so that means, okay, so if the council or the staff say, yeah, okay, go explore it and come back and see if it's feasible. So first you've got to go to Waste Management and say, what would the cost be if you picked up all of our recycling and took it to the Martin County facility instead of the Palm Beach County facility? They might end up being no cost change whatsoever. I don't know where the Martin County facility is located, although I can remember driving by a mountain on the turnpike.
But I hate to interrupt, but I thought the sorting facility for the recyclables for Martin County was even further north. Like, I thought I'd have to remember, I don't remember exactly where, but it was a significant distance from here. Somewhat significant from Martin County, but it was, I believe, outside the county, but further north. I could be wrong, it's just something I remembered at one of our talks.
But that would be a cost factor, so we need to identify the cost factors, and one of them is transporting the recyclables to the facility that can process them. So, you know, it's not a walk in the park to go from here to, what do you call it?
Military.
Was it the Donald Ross
Yeah.
military area? I mean, you know, it takes me 30 minutes to get through Jupiter sometimes.
Jay gets there in 2 minutes.
So, but anyway, so what if Martin County, what if they said the price would be the same to transport to either or? And what if Martin County said, yes, we will allow you to do that and put your recycle start? You enter into an intergovernmental agreement. It's nothing more than a contract between governments, okay? And it says, well, first of all, you tell SWA, we're out, and then you go and you have a contract with Martin County's SWA, if they have one, and then they'll come and pick it up, and it'll go, Waste Management will pick it up, they'll take it to Martin County. Now, the question really is, do you want to go through all of that? I mean, I know how to do all that stuff because I've done it, you know, scores of times in my career, but do you really want to go to the trouble is my question after you've seen this today.
So the bottom line to me is, does it increase participation? So our first presenter months ago said, yes, 30%. And you were trying to drive that question today to get that feedback. Does it increase participation, basically? And we didn't really get that from her. Her presentation was that the product is less contaminated by doing dual stream, and that makes it a marketable product for them to sell. So those are two different concepts of one versus the other, not an apple and apple, an orange and orange.
Yeah, one might give you greater participation, but the other may be more economically viable.
Right.
Right, and at the end of it, I think it's, what's the net result? Like, is the net outcome
Well,
better or worse?
I think the net outcome is there's less recyclable trash in our community.
Right.
That's,
Or in our garbage, right? I mean, you want it
Right.
recycled.
I mean,
Yep.
that's the end goal.
Yeah, and to
You know-
not know exactly what's recyclable that's turning up in garbage
Yeah.
because people don't want to recycle in a dual way that was a data point she was unaware of.
But isn't the single stream, she said, causes people to put more of their just garbage in there?
Yes.
Yeah,
Which-
it's
so
contamination,
then,
yeah.
so then that contamination, does that bring down the
The net.
percentage of
Right.
what is recycled? So,
Right.
Yeah.
which is what you asked.
Yeah, so you don't know, like at the end, you want more recyclables.
Right.
Is contamination up front, but more participation yield more recyclables?
Right.
Or is it the opposite to,
Right.
what we're doing today? But I think your point is that maybe we should ask the question. We are on the county line. I mean, we're close in proximity. It makes more sense than a Lake Worth, that would have to span pretty much a whole county before they're out of the county. So for us, at least we're close in proximity. And if the organization that picks it up, Waste Management, I presume that they have, they're running dual trucks, obviously, for garbage and recyclables. Their truck is split in two, is that right? In terms of the two types of things?
They have,
Recycling is.
Yeah,
I'm
so
not sure, I'm never up early
what I don't
to
know
see
is
what
from
they
their
look like.
perspective, if one side fills up in their truck, do they continue their route, or do they have to
That's a
take their
good
truck
question.
back? Versus if they were just to fill the entire truck up to capacity with a one
Well, not only, yeah, I'm sorry. Not only that, Waste Management said, I mean, I remember this clear as day as well, that it's less, FTEs because it's automated. Similar to how our garbage, like our general garbage is now, you got the claw and it lifts it up and dumps it. The same thing occurs with a single stream recycle.
Yeah.
So you don't have that guy.
Yeah, hurt his back with picking up a bunch of
Yeah.
cardboard. You're right.
So I mean, look, let's back to point number one.
Sorry, guys.
Is there buy-in? That was the one area where I think in general there was agreement that it sounds like a great idea. The one person on that council, the mayor, was the one that kind of pushed back the most.
Well,
So-
we're not gonna be able to sell it to them unless we do more. This might actually be the first step, is we have to research, does it end up with a net increase in recycling?
Right.
Yeah.
If
Right.
If we can make if it didn't, we probably wouldn't make the case.
That's right.
Right?
Well, how would we do that? We've had Waste Management here, we've had SWA here. Waste Management, I mean, said total amount collected is 30+%. But the net amount at the end of, taking the contaminants out, et cetera, is it more or less? No one knows the answer. I don't know, like, where do you get that? Is there a scientific journal article
Right.
that has that?
You start with Google, see where it takes you.
All right.
I wonder if Martin County has some benchmarking results on, hey, what's our participation rate in Martin County for recycling? What's our participation?
They were
And I know
Right, they were dual initially,
they were.
Martin County.
Yeah.
And so they must have data from dual to single,
Maybe they made a case, and maybe it might be a
might be.
good outline for us to follow, fill in our own data.
It's worth
Yeah.
knowing,
It's worth contacting them.
it's worth knowing this information and,
It should all be public record. I mean, Palm Beach
Yeah.
County puts it on their website and stuff like that, so maybe they do the same.
All right. We're running way long. Okay, so thank you for bringing that up. So I'll say, I mean, it's not a dead issue. I really am, I wanted single stream recycling.
Another variable that's part of the equation too is we now learned what Palm Beach County does. They're turning their, the portion of their waste into electricity. Does Martin County do the same thing?
It's
Or
not
what do
with
they
the
do? They just make a
recycling.
bigger landfill?
yeah, that energy production, from what I think I heard her say, is not from the recycled materials that'll get sold. The energy production is from the incineration process.
Yeah, that's true.
The collecting of the steam.
All right. Well, I mean, homework. I'll do some research as best I can.
We can all noodle it
Yep.
too, just
Yeah.
look it a little deeper.
I think we should all poke around on it.
Yep,
Okay.
And
Good.
it may end up, okay, let's just leave it dual.
yeah, we need to know before we kill it, I think.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good. Any other comments? General comments? Future agenda items? For those that didn't, I don't know. Did I send the staff memo to those that don't have the tequesta.org?
Did you say, I couldn't hear what you said, what?
Did I send the staff memo, the template for staff memo? Did you receive it via email?
I don't remember.
What is it?
I don't remember.
It's just a template.
Oh,
Just
okay.
bring it up. It's a future agenda items. All you have to do is attach your name, put a subject, and a short summary of what you'd like to discuss, so it makes it onto the agenda.
Okay,
Okay.
yes, if you wouldn't mind.
I'll
personal emails.
yeah.
You could
Sorry
put it,
about
are
that.
you saying?
Yeah, you sent it on September 29th.
FYI.
No, I'm just gonna email you guys. I mean, I already did. I emailed you, I don't know when it was, last week.
September 29th is when you sent it.
I'll
Did
go
you do
look on my regular email.
tequesta.org?
I did, but I thought I put your personal one in there. I may have not. I'll circle back and make sure that your personal emails are in there.
I'll
And you two are the only ones that.
It was .org. You sent it to
this has been going for 2 years.
Tom's
I've
.org.
been over to Tech twice. He couldn't figure it out. It was something to do.
All right, so we're about to adjourn, but I don't know if you had a chance to take a look at these great pictures of storm drain signage that I pulled off the internet. I'd love to see equesta have something like this, but apparently we have
that. The button.
a button.
It's about this big.
That's what my button looks like.
Yeah, that's about it.
And that's the one right across from it.
It's not very,
Nothing. There's
no,
nothing
it's
there.
not.
This one needs to be, I don't know, some repair work maybe that needs to be
Are
done.
you saying that one across the street from you just faded away? So,
There's so many of them in Tequesta Country Club that are like that. Yeah. They just kind of fade but I like all of these other ones. I think they'll catch your attention more than those
Yeah,
little
they're more
buttons.
prominent.
But we'll do the button thing, I guess. This one's stamped into the concrete. But anyway, this one, it's a
I
stencil.
like that.
You just spray paint it on.
Yeah, that's nice. It's not intrusive. It's
So
not tacky.
there's other options out there. Maybe once we exhaust these buttons,
You know what you guys could do is, so when you go to present to council next, probably in like January, February, before their strategic planning session, you could put that on the radar of something that you want maybe some budget for in next fiscal year. Because there'd be an expense to that, right? So you could.
that's what I did already.
Yeah, but it wasn't in the context of like.
No, I said
this-
enhanced drain signage around stormwater drains.
Yeah, but it wasn't in a lead up to the strategic planning session. You just kind of said, these are things we're interested in doing. Are you guys good with these? But they're going to want like very specific, like, hey, we want money for the mangrove program. We want money for enhanced drain signage. So you could, I think you get another bite at the apple on that one.
Okay. All right. Anyway, sounds good. Yeah, that's it. Any other matters? Okay.
make a motion to adjourn.
Well, second.
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
No nays?
So as an advisory committee, we
wrong
can
one.
request.
Because